So, will Palma Airport face the same EES meltdown as we've seen happen in other airports within Spain and indeed within Europe? Because today, on the 19th of November, the EES is being implemented at Palma Airport in Mallorca. As a reminder, the EES is the EU's new biometric border control system that replaces passport stamping with the digital registration of non-EU travellers as they enter and leave the Schengen Area. So in summary, that's going to be anyone flying into Mallorca or into Spain or into any other European country from, say, the United Kingdom, from the United States, from Canada, or maybe from the Middle East too. So, shall we see how the EES is working in Spain at the moment? Well, you needn't go too far than good old Facebook for some information about this. And one Facebook user reported, got to Alicante Airport this morning and had to use the new EES system. What a joke, they weren't working properly, so had to go the normal way where they stamped the passports. Surely before implementing the new machines, they should make sure they work. It was utter chaos and a lot of people were getting angry with the machines not working properly. Well, as we know, the machines that have been in Spanish airports now for well over a year, we've seen them waiting in arrivals for us, and indeed at the back end of the summer season, back in October, we saw that the green lights were switched on. Looks like they were being booted up and looks like they were being tested. So at least over here in Palma Airport, fingers crossed they will be working. But what else? What have other experiences so far been? Well, let's head on over to Malaga. Because in the Estepona info and chats group, again on Facebook, another Facebook user said, well, Malaga Airport, what can I say? We stood in line from 10 a.m. The flight was at 12:20 and we didn't get through until 12:30. So staying an extra night back in Estepona, the setup is just madness at the minute, and we'll try again tomorrow. We'll try again to get a flight. Imagine if this happens over here in Mallorca next summer. I mean, it would just be absolutely chaos. And with regards to actually going back the next day to get another flight, it looks like this traveller actually had to pay for a new flight. The post continues, had to rebook, nobody seems to have the answer at the airport. So as it stands, the flight went and we had to pay again. So I have no idea whether travel insurance is going to cover you if you miss your flight because of problems at border control with the EES system, or indeed as well if the gates collapse too. Another comment says, we went through in 5 minutes last night. Lots of British people waiting in line, ignoring multiple signs advising to register your passport at the machine and then use the e-gate. Now, this is interesting because I can almost imagine the scene at border control over at Malaga Airport. Maybe they've got the signs up and no one's registering their details as asked. And again, this is going to cause a huge bottleneck. As we know, things are being increasingly digitalised. We stayed in London this summer. We stayed at the Premier Inn. They emailed me a QR code which I could use at one of their standing units to actually just pick up our room key this summer. When we entered the hotel, there's a huge queue of people going out of the hotel. I went up to one of the machines, showed my QR code on my phone, instantly got my key, and we were in the hotel room within about 2 minutes. When I asked at reception the next day, the receptionist actually said to me that everyone had that same email, but they just prefer to go to a human being to get their key. So I suspect with all these machines, at the end of the day, humans are going to want to go through humans, and there is a little bit of a problem with technology. We know there's a problem with technology, and it's interesting to hear as well that people were ignoring the signs and actually not registering at the machines as they should do. So, as we know, if you've been watching my videos, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I am based over here in Mallorca and I travel through Palma Airport frequently. But on my last trip through Palma Airport, I counted 66 EES machines. There may have been a few more around the back, but we do have around 66 EES machines over in Palma Airport. And well, Palma Airport is one of the busiest airports we have over here in Europe. And next summer is going to be no exception. We do get a lot of flights arriving at once from the UK, so you can imagine the numbers of people we're going to have arriving in at once. Whatever problem we have with the EES machines, this needs sorting, and it needs sorting now. So I see another comment as well, also regarding Malaga Airport, from another Facebook user saying, we flew from Malaga to Cardiff this morning with TUI. It was absolutely horrendous. Our plane left 25 minutes late due to waiting on passengers, and 25 passengers missed the flight. And yet again, they were caught back in the passport control area around the EES machines too. In Tenerife as well, on visahq.com, they said,
just 24 hours after Tenerife South Airport celebrated Spain's first entry-exit system deployment, a software glitch knocked out 6 of the 10 biometric kiosks in the arrivals hall. Lines of more than 1,000 passengers snaked through the terminal, with some travellers reporting waits of up to 2 hours. Airport operator AENA confirmed that the outage stemmed from a firmware conflict between the kiosk cameras and the National Police fingerprint reader, an issue that had not appeared in pilot tests. AENA's engineers applied an overnight patch and rebooted the affected units by early afternoon, but the incident highlights early phase fragility in the EU's €1.3 billion Smart Borders programme.
So in an article as well in Cadena Ser, talking about the shape of things to come in Lanzarote, also in the Canary Islands, they said, and this is just a very rough translation, long queues expected at Lanzarote Airport due to the new European passport control system starting this Wednesday. The Unified Police Union fears long waits at Lanzarote Airport following the implementation of the EES system, which replaces manual passport stamping with biometric digital registration. Speaking to Sir Lanzarote, Marcos Santiago, spokesperson for the SUP union in the Canary Islands, acknowledged that the implementation of the system has not been as smooth as expected. Although the system has improved in recent days, Santiago maintains that errors persist, especially in the transmission of biometric data, photographs, fingerprints and passport information, which the new software is supposed to record and store. He says, we believe the problem lies in the capacity of the lines, which have to handle an enormous amount of information, he pointed out. And do you know what? That's absolutely key. I mean, the amount of information that these machines are going to be processing is going to be absolutely horrendous. And well, we're going to find out about this next summer. It is worrying, I have to say. Not only that as well, the newspaper highlights the shortage of police in the passport control area. And we've seen this over here in Palma Airport this summer too. Sporadically, I have to say, some days the whole airport, going through the airport, going to the UK, to and from the UK works absolutely fine. Other times we've seen and heard about horrendous queues. But the SUP spokesman has once again warned of a shortage of 30 to 40 officers at Lanzarote Airport, which could worsen delays at border crossings. The same chap says, we asked the Ministry of the Interior to assign additional officers on an emergency basis, but the proposal was not accepted and the vacancies remain unfilled, he lamented. Santiago warned that passengers will have to enter their information into the electronic machines before going through police control, which slows down the process. Only after an officer verifies the information on a tablet is the passage authorised. He also says as well, meanwhile, all travellers will be waiting outside the border. If the system becomes overloaded, there'll be too few officers. Queues will be inevitable, he says. And he's also advising arriving at the airport even with extra time up to 4 hours before your flight, which is absolutely ridiculous because, as you know, ticket desks, check-in desks do not open until 2 hours before the flight departure. So if you've got luggage, it's going to be absolutely pointless. At which point I'm going to say maybe consider travelling with hand luggage, particularly when you're leaving Spain, heading back to the UK. So another interesting comment as well about the VIP lounges that we have at the airports. And this is another comment as well on Facebook saying it's crazy that the executive lounge is before passport control with no warning of queue length. So paying €45 to relax when you arrive 3 hours to come out and find there's a 2-hour queue at passport control. Flight miss, so going back to the lounge. Now that's again really, that's just horrendous. What's going to happen? Is this going to put people off travelling? Let me know in the comments. Will it put you off travelling? Will it put you off actually getting into these executive lounges as well that we have over in the airports? Is it going to be worth it if you're then going to find yourself in a massive queue waiting for your flight, and keeping your fingers crossed as well that you're going to get through a passport control and actually make that flight too, unlike that person who left that comment? So for now, don't forget that only 10% of passengers entering Spain are going to be asked to register for the EES. As of, I think it's the first week in January, 50% of passengers will be asked to register for the EES. And then we go into 100% mode, more or less at the start of the season in April. Also, as one other extra step in all of this as well, don't forget that actual physical passport stamping is also going to continue until April as well. So even if you do register for the EES, you're still going to have to visit the policeman in his booth to get your passport stamp as well. All British and third country passport holders, that is not going to actually end until the beginning of April. Obviously, they're putting this as a backup as well, just in case those machines do go down, which fingers crossed they don't. So, in summary, and I've just summarised here, there are notable problems reported with kiosk outages in Tenerife, system crashes in Alicante and long waits in Lanzarote and Malaga. The causes seem to be technical issues with the mass transfer of biometric data, as well as capacity and staffing shortages too. The impact has been that flights have been missed in the rare occasion as well, and like I said, flight passengers have had to go on and pay for other flights. This literally cannot happen next summer. It just can't happen next summer. We've got severe staffing issues. We've seen this, and not enough police at border control. And most importantly, the rollout is going to be gradual. It's not fully rolled out yet. We're in this testing phase. So let's see what happens over here in the Mallorca and in other airports as well around Europe as this entry and exit system gets underway. Now, it would be also absolutely fantastic if there's some kind of statement from the Ministry of the Interior to put everybody's minds at rest for next summer, because this EES system could well impact negatively the whole tourism industry over here in Spain for the rest of the Mediterranean too. Don't forget, it's not just Spain where we do have it. It is in all European countries, which basically accounts for all summer holiday destinations in Europe, barring a couple. I think Cyprus and Malta are going to be rather popular this summer. But it would be good if somebody could put out a statement to reassure everyone that things will be fine for this summer. So, what are the news? While we're talking about Palma Airport, what other news do we have from Palma Airport today? Well, I have to correct myself from a previous video. I think it was my Mallorca in November video. Terminal A, or Module A, over at Palma Airport will be staying open over the winter. It will not close. Of course, they're not going to pick up and move all those machines. They're going to be busy updating all the software in there, and all flights will be going through Terminal A, which is absolutely fantastic. I did have a friend come from mainland Spain today. His flight with Terminal D closed, his flight came through Terminal C, and he said he had such a huge walk through the airport. He's actually worried that some passengers wouldn't actually be able to make it. So I have to say there is a shorter walking distance from Terminal A going into arrival. So, you know, that's good news at the very least. What else have we got? We have got works ongoing as well in the arrivals area at Palma Airport. A new travelator is going to be in place to speed up flight passengers arriving into the airport over towards the car park and the car hire hall. Also, as well, as I stand here in the jumper, which is the first time I've actually filmed in the jumper for this autumn, Palma Airport is preparing for bad weather. We've got a big temperature drop coming on Friday, and I saw a press release all about the airports getting in the de-icer because we do have a very cold drop expected, and those planes may well need de-icing as well in the coming days. Who knows? Okay, so as I've said, I would love to hear your comments all about this. Let me know if you're worried about travelling to Spain or anywhere in Europe this summer. Let me know as well if you've postponed plans for your summer holiday for this year until this whole EES system has been rolled out. But in the meantime, don't forget you can find me on Facebook and on Instagram. I'm also going to drop a couple of videos appearing both here and here on YouTube to help you out with your holiday. Thanks very much for watching, everyone, and I shall see you on the next one. Goodbye for now.